All right, MMA Maniacs, it's time once again for Split Decision. It's Rock 96.7's MMA podcast brought to you usually weekly at rock967.com. Bueller and Dodge in the studio. Big thanks to Fight Fans Radio Network for putting us out there. You can find us on Spreaker, also Blog Talk Radio, and on their iTunes account. Not only that, you can get us at rock967.com, Facebook with the Split Decision MMA podcast, if it ever updates, and on our iTunes as well, which never seems to get the full podcast. Just either get it from rock967.com, honestly, or get it from Fight Fans Radio Network.
Two best places to get it.
Two best places to get it.
For sure.
So anyway, we're in the studio. It's been a week. So we're going to give you a quick recap of the last UFC to happen because it's old news to a lot of people by now, but also lots of new news happening right now and some other stuff that's happened over the last 2 weeks since we've talked to you. And Dodge has a long laundry list of crap in front of him.
A lot of stuff's been going on, man.
Oh, and we're not going to be able to take calls today. I had a mandatory meeting that ran long and crap happens. Yeah, sorry.
Next week.
Next time. So what is happening?
All right, well, let's start off. Remember we were talking about how Josh Thompson was an idiot and made a bunch of comments about gay marriage?
Yes.
Okay. He is not going to be having any disciplinary action from Dana White or from the UFC because he didn't say anything specifically.
Okay.
And I believe communities have not come out of the woodwork to say that they felt he was threatening towards them or he was making comments.
And that's very true. Were you on my Facebook?
No, I wasn't actually.
Thank you.
Normally, I do mess with your Facebook every time you leave it up.
I appreciate
Today
that.
I did not. Instead, I looked at the chive.
I appreciate
and correct.
Because I don't know if I can handle the stress of you being on my Facebook, too.
Or was I?
I don't know, man.
All right. Moving on, we have the Ultimate Fighter Nations. Is going to be the new season of the Ultimate Fighter. You're going to have Canada versus Australia.
Well, the reason I bring up the Facebook, not to just sidestep the entire Josh Thompson story, is because he said a lot of stuff on Facebook, but it didn't stay on his Facebook. It stayed on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's like he removed it from his Facebook. But I guess I understand that. While I don't agree with his opinions, as stated last time when we did this, he really didn't come. He's even like
he wasn't saying I'm against gay marriage.
Yeah, his statements weren't really. I guess they weren't offensive. They weren't meant to offend.
Exactly. They said that they weren't. That's exactly what Dana White said. Is that they didn't offend anybody. People thought he was an idiot. They're like he should stick to just fighting instead of talking.
And that's it. I didn't agree with it, but I guess I can understand why the UFC isn't putting any disciplinary action on him. I guess it honestly doesn't warrant it. You know? So there you go.
So the Ultimate Fighter Nations is now going to be a new season of the Ultimate Fighter, the international season. Canada versus Australia. Patrick Cote and Kyle Noak being your coaches.
Really?
So they're starting it. I mean, they've been talking about this for a long time. They wanted to do the Ultimate Fighter India. They wanted to do the Ultimate Fighter Canada, all Canada. They wanted to do the Ultimate Fighter Australia. They wanted to do. So now they're going to do Nations, which I think they've talked about before too, where they're just going to take, Ultimate Fighter, just whole cast seasons of trying to bring over international fighters.
Why not?
So who do you think that they should bring in next? What should be the next nation?
Should be the next nation?
Yeah, Mexico.
Hell yes.
Mexico versus whoever, Brazil. Maybe
Brazil, yeah.
I mean, we already have two seasons of Brazil, but
hell yes, Mexico. That makes total sense. I mean,
Russia,
Russia makes sense.
We've already had UK shows. We've already had Australian shows. We've already had Canadian shows.
India freaks me out a little bit.
India freaks you out
just a little bit.
Well, the Philippines.
The Philippines might be cool. Cuba.
Will Castro allow that?
Well, he's dead. Are they really good at baseball, like the Dominican Republic?
Yeah, right.
They're really good at baseball. Maybe they got some good
Puerto
fighters.
Rico,
Thailand.
There we go.
Yeah, this could open up some really cool doors.
France.
No. I give up. I surrender.
I give up. We'd not be on the show. UFC Vice President Tom Wright has come out.
For some reason, I just had like Zulu stick fighters in my head.
Right.
I don't know why. As soon as you said nations, my mind immediately went to like Zulu stick fighting.
UFC Vice President Tom Wright has come out and said that he wants to move away from the word cage. He'd like to remove it from all and anything that has to do with the UFC. In fact, they no longer refer to it. They want to no longer refer to it as the cage. They don't want reporters referring to it as the cage. They want them to refer to it as the octagon.
The octagon.
They feel the cage still invokes a visual that they do not want. They don't want the visual of cage fighting, the whole underground pit fighting, human cockfighting sort of thing. They want it to be the octagon. They want people to know it's, it becomes synonymous with MMA is the octagon.
No. No.
They're still going to have,
Still going to call it the cage.
Cage Rage. What was the one that I saw the other day? It was that I thought it was awesome. It was I think it was the, Roctagon, the Roctagon event. Somewhere here local in California, that was called the Roctagon.
The Roctagon? I don't, whatever. It's still going to be called the Cage.
When we get to it here, War MMA, which is Nick Diaz's promotion, he went to the ring because he doesn't believe that fighters should be fighting in a cage.
I don't like the ring.
We'll get to that anyway.
The ring is for boxing.
We had Metamoris, which is the new ginormous no points Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament put on by the Gracies.
No points?
No points.
Wow.
Yeah, it took a full 120 minutes before they got their first submission in this event.
The first submission in the entire event?
Yeah, it took 120 minutes.
Oh my God.
Other fights went to now, which is weird. They have decisions,
but no points. It's kind of like, whoever did the best.
That guy did
better.
So anyway, Brandon Schaub got invited to come down and fight in this event. He got the okay from the UFC to fight in this event, and he went up against Roberto Albrea.
Already sounds like he lost.
Yeah. He put on the worst performance I think anybody's ever seen in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament. Yeah. He literally, while Roberto laid on his back and was trying to get him to get to the ground, was trying sweeps and that things, Schaub basically stood over him like a wrestler and batted at his feet the entire time. Never engaged in the ground game. Never engaged in anything that looked like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
So he won, right?
No, and he ended up losing, obviously, because he never engaged. He would Roberto would sit up, he would push on his head and push him backwards. So he's thinking, oh, okay, he's going to come down on the ground. And then he would just let him lay there. And he literally did circles around him the entire time. And the Gracies were not happy. They were not happy, saying that
Why would you invite Brandon Schaub anyway?
Because apparently he came to them and said, I want to show that MMA fighters still have the chops to hang with guys in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Of all people.
I'm going to show you.
Of all people, Brandon Schaub does this.
How well, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
This sounds like the beginning of a bad joke.
And so, he basically just batted his feet around the
So Brandon Schaub walks into a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament, right?
Right.
Hello, sir.
Continue.
We're going to continue.
Fascinating Brandon Shaw discussion.
You're going to kick us out, aren't you? Son of a bitch.
But also this event, Kron Gracie tapped Shinya Aoki.
Oh, see, now that would be a great match to watch.
And it was. And also another one that was coming is that, and I just lost his name now.
Cool. All right. I'm glad you have notes.
Right? Yeah, I wrote notes and I didn't write his name down.
All right.
Let's see what else we got going on. We have Pettis is out of his fight against Jose Alde at UFC 162. He has a knee injury. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks.
Bootsy.
Instead, moving in is the Korean zombie, Chang Young Zhang.
Are
you all right with that?
Say that 5 times fast. This has gone on Facebook already. I don't
want to argue with a guy who doesn't know how to argue with anybody.
Look,
he sounded
none
like
of it makes
idiot.
any sense. None of it made any sense to me.
On my phone, it was in order, but on the Facebook, it was not in order. It was
Chan Sung Jung has not fought the same level of competition that Anthony Pettis has. That's what Eric's point was, and I agree with that. Chan Sung Jung has fought no one near the amount of competition.
The fact that he is considered the number one contender in his weight class, and the fact that they were giving it to Pettis just because Pettis dropped weight is a bunch of crap.
I get that.
You're not. That was my biggest argument, is that he dropped weight because he's like, I'm tired of waiting for Benson Henderson, even though I lost to Coy Guido and lost my number one contendership spot, so I'm going to drop weight and get an immediate title shot.
I understand
Whereas
what you're
guys
saying.
that are rising up, not only that, but to make Pettis even more douchey, to make him a bigger douchebag than he already is, now he says that he wants TJ Grant's number one spot that TJ Grant just won. He's like, I'll be ready in 6 to 8 weeks when that fight happens. TJ Grant, who's been fighting his way through the ranks, now the number one contendership spot, he's like, I deserve his slot. He doesn't.
Is TJ Grant like, nah, man?
Yeah, TJ Grant's like, dude, what are you talking about? He's like, that's disrespectful. He's like, I've been working my ass off, getting my way through the ranks. You've been sitting and jumping around weight classes because you just won a title shot.
Well, all I'm saying about the Anthony Pettis thing is that Anthony Pettis is probably a better contender for the title than Chan Sung Jung.
I don't believe so.
I don't. If Anthony Pettis and Chan Sung Jung fought, I think Chan Sung Jung would not stand a chance against Pettis.
I don't think anybody should be able to drop weight and get an immediate title shot. You
I
should have at
understand
least one
that
fight.
Argument. I understand that argument. I get
Just
it.
like Kenny Florian. Kenny Florian had to have one fight before he got a title shot. You didn't just drop weight and get a title shot.
I get that. I understand what you're saying. I still think Anthony Pettis makes a better match.
I don't know.
For the title. I don't care. He's fighting Chan Sung Jung anyway. Bottom line is that's what's happening.
That's true. But again, Anthony Pettis, the other news is he's a big douchebag and wants TJ Grant's.
He's a big douchebag.
Title shot. And I don't think you should get that either. I hope they don't give him that.
All right.
I really don't.
Let's hurry up before Foley kicks us out. He's going to.
Roy Nelson set a record at UFC 161, which we'll get at, in his fight against Stipe Miocic. He is now the first fighter ever to have 487 strikes landed to him in his UFC career and never been knocked out.
That's impressive. But it's also Roy Nelson. He can absorb pretty much anything. I think the military needs to look into his gut and figure out how to
bottle it?
How to weaponize
it's called
that.
Cheeseburgers. What's there to bottle?
Just weaponize it. That guy can absorb a nuclear blast.
UFC 163 is going to be coming up very soon. Anthony Perosh against Vinny Magalhaes is going to be happening on this fight.
Oh, cool.
Vinny Magalhaes is saying that Anthony Perosh had called him out and he's been talking a lot of trash. He wants to embarrass him and says that Anthony Perosh's jiu-jitsu is nowhere near the level of his.
Well, no, it's not. That's a fact. It's kind of like when Vinny Magalhaes was on the Ultimate Fighter and he was talking about like, oh, I'm better at jiu-jitsu than the Nog brothers.
Right.
And it was very insulting on the show. And come to find out, he is.
He
actually is better than the Nogs. Yeah, so Anthony Perosh, no. It's not even. MMA jiu-jitsu is a lot different, obviously.
He's the hippo.
And he's very good. MMA jiu-jitsu is way different than just straight-up jiu-jitsu. If it's a straight-up jiu-jitsu tournament, hands down, Magalhaes is going to win that 10 times out of 10. MMA jiu-jitsu is different, and Magalhaes was great at M1, but he comes over to the UFC and he's not doing well again.
So great, yeah.
So, I don't know. I think the hippo stands a better chance in the cage fight than he does, an octagon fight, than he does in like a jiu-jitsu match. You know, if it was a jiu-jitsu match, then the hippo shouldn't be involved in that, but this is way different.
The UFC is apparently asking fighters traveling on PR or marketing appearances, they are no longer allowed to wear flip-flops or shorts to any of their appearances. Benson Henderson tweeted this at first, and then this was confirmed by somebody in the higher-ups of the UFC. The UFC says, we don't have a dress code. We just tell them, please don't wear shorts or flip-flops to any PR.
Dress a little more professional.
Or marketing things. They actually bought Benson Henderson a whole line of clothes to wear to all of his new upcoming PR things. Yeah.
Well, no, BJ Penn's never going to be at a PR thing ever again.
Ever. Well, can you be barefoot? I mean, not wearing flip-flops.
That's a good point.
Right?
BJ Penn only owns board shorts and flip-flops. That's it.
That's all he has. Junior Dos Santos has already started the trash talking against Cain Velasquez for their rubber match. He says that Cain Velasquez hits like a girl. Even though his face was completely mashed and mauled and beat up in their last fight,
God.
He didn't cause me any cuts, so that proves that he hits like a girl.
He literally beat Junior Dos Santos' ass for 25 minutes. Beat his ass.
Yeah.
Oh my! You know what?
I really wish I had that quote when we talked to Cain. Because that would have been great to ask him.
We're going to, by the way, we talked to Cain the other day. We're going to post that interview separately because this is going to be a long podcast. And, well, yeah, and that's a long
GSP
interview.
versus Johnny Hendricks has been announced November 17th. They actually have a date now.
All right, cool.
So it is, we did know it was going to happen, but it does have a date. Moving on, Hector Lombard going to be moving down to 170, going down to welterweight. Wants to fight Nate Marquardt first.
Now, okay. Lombard was the guy who came over with a lot of hype.
Yes, a lot of hype,
and then failed to deliver on
his
that hype.
First fight. He lost decision.
Okay.
Second fight he won pretty impressively.
Okay. So now after 2 fights, then he's dropping down into another weight class.
Wants to drop to 170.
Wants to fight Nate the Great Marquardt.
Nate the Great Marquardt. That's the first fight he wants. Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. I mean, it's a good measuring tape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like he's not calling out the champ yet.
Not yet. He will.
I'm sure he will. It's a good measuring tape. I mean, Nate's an impressive. He's got an impressive resume. We'll say that. He does. A very impressive resume.
I think it's going to be a good fight. Both
if you want to see how you stack up in the 170 division, then
yeah,
that's a good tool or measuring stick to use.
We had 2 fighters retire after their recent losses over the past week. Seth Petrozelli, who lost to King Mo, retired. And also Renato Babalu Soberol retired after his loss.
I didn't know Babalu was still fighting. It's kind of sad that I knew Seth Petrozelli was still fighting and not Babalu, but all right.
Yeah, he's been fighting for 15 years nonstop, and he's finally retiring after his loss. We have Jacob Christmas Volkman, who won his bout at the World Series of Fighting, says that he blacked out and had a seizure in his hotel room the day of the fight. But he did not report this to anybody because he's got bills to pay. He's also a chiropractor, so he self-diagnosed himself and said he was fine.
Good for him. Smart move, dude. Because then if you would have had a seizure in the octagon, not the cage.
Yeah, I think they have the 11-sided or 12-sided one.
Well, then it would have been covered.
In World Series of Fighting?
Yeah, it would have been covered. So you don't report it, and then if you have one again in the cage, then you get insurance covers it. What?
I don't know if World Series of Fighting has insurance like UFC. I'm sorry.
Well, not like the UFC.
Ray Cefo's not giving him any insurance.
Universal healthcare.
Yeah, there you go. Well, he's against universal healthcare because he's a chiropractor and it wouldn't be under his umbrella.
Wouldn't cover chiropractic,
Yeah.
chiropractoring.
Invitica 6.
Okay.
Coming up, Cyborg Santos against Marlus Conan. I like that fight.
Haven't they fought already?
It's going to be the first one on pay-per-view for Invitica.
I thought they fought already.
I don't think so.
Interesting.
Sarah Kaufman.
Okay.
Cyborg fought Sarah Kaufman.
And Marlos Conan
Nobody
fought
fought
Sarah
Kaufman.
Okay.
That's where the belt exchanged hands. And
got it.
Jeff
Okay.
Monson recently lost his bout in M1 at M131 to Alexei Olenek. Reason why I bring this up is because this is the first time he's actually been submitted since 1999.
No way.
Yeah, he got rear naked choked.
Well, that seems to be happening a lot lately.
So Jeff Monson, first submission in over a decade.
Nice.
Pretty crazy. UFC has also released 6 fighters from their roster: Anthony Smith, Leonardo Silva, Roger Hullett, Carlos Vamola, Eddie Mendez, and Nishan Burrell.
Carlos Vamola, no kidding?
Yep.
Wow.
All
this
got
guy
released.
came over on so much hype. Again, failed to deliver.
Failed to deliver, you get released, man. That's what happens.
That's crazy. That's because I don't know the freight train of Carlos Vamola when he came. I mean, that guy he came over. Was he 10-0?
Yeah.
And was just steamrolling people over there in wherever the hell he's from, and then came over here. And when was his last fight?
Just recently, he just lost.
I was looking on the last.
I think
last
it was
card.
on his last card.
It was on the last card.
No?
Yeah, it
One
must have been
before
before
that
that. Wow, surprising.
Yeah. Tito Ortiz is very upset that Stephan Bonner is going to be inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame
Why?
because he says he doesn't deserve it. He says
Why?
Forrest, on the other hand, does deserve it because, of course, Forrest beat him, and since he's in the UFC Hall of Fame, that warrants that he should be allowed in the UFC Hall of Fame. He also says that only
Whatever.
people who are world champions should be allowed in the UFC Hall of Fame, and that the UFC Hall of Fame should be by fan vote and not picked by a committee of Dana White, Lorenzo Fertitta, and whoever else gets to pick these guys.
I don't care what Tito has to say about it.
I think Tito just needs something to say.
The thing is,
We haven't heard from Tito in a little
This is
while.
true.
Since his horrible press conference.
no, he apparently beat Jenna Jameson's ass again recently.
Again?
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought I was reading an old news story.
Recently came out something about, and then she tweeted a picture of his drug stash.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll have to look this up. I haven't seen any
You
of
didn't
this.
see that?
Nope.
I thought you posted it.
No, I haven't seen any of this.
Yeah.
Could have been Albert. Could have been the Korean correspondent.
Yeah, no, I don't know who it was, but I remember seeing it online.
Yeah.
I'll have to go. I thought it was old news. No, apparently he beat her ass again, and then she tweeted a picture of his like drug stash.
Nice.
And there was like, she's like, look, he's doing drugs, and it was like 800 milligram ibuprofen. And there was some other stuff in there too, but
We'll
it
have
was
to
like,
check it out, yeah.
But whatever.
Rory McDonald and Jake Ellenberger are just heating up their Twitter beef, and it's just going back and forth, and it's actually pretty hilarious. I wish I had full-on quotes because they are pretty darn funny.
See, I like when the trash talk is funny.
And it's because it seems like Rory McDonald, Jake Ellenberger seems to be a lot more quicker, whereas Rory McDonald seems to be having trouble with English, or he's just using his texting and he's using like you're, you are, and stuff like not making full sentences.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So if you follow either of them, you can find out what's going on. We have a big fight. Legends MMA out of Russia is going to be having Krokov against Elamenenko. And I mean Alexander, not Fedor. This is going to be going down November 6th. It's going to be a rematch of their Pride 2004 bout. So both these guys going on Legends MMA to have a fight, which is nice, I guess, if you're in Russia.
All right, here's what I got. I had to look it up since we brought it up.
Oh,
There's
okay.
no point in not having it. Apparently, she accused him of trying to like nearly killing her.
Okay, again.
And then shocking allegations against Tito Ortiz. First tweet is my ex took my poor children away for no reason. He did drugs and faked drug tests for the UFC. All my time with, I don't know what this tweet even means. He partied the whole time she was raising the kids. Whatever, and I have proof. You didn't want to show your face while the boys grew up. Now you want to beat me up. That's what she's saying. This is all on Twitter.
Right.
If you don't like what I'm saying, sue me for my home that you're living in. Sue me for my furniture you have. Sue me for my phantom. Keep up your lies. I'll start posting pics of Tito and his drug use. Let's talk truth. My children need their mother, not a random drug addict. And then here's pick. Nothing followed after this, by the way. Oh, wait. There's another one. Oh, okay. Yeah, she did post more. This is the only one I saw, though. So she posted a picture of some 800 milligram ibuprofen. Jacob Ortiz. But then there's definitely some needles and things of that nature. A lot of them stashed away. And what's funny is that's not a purse, is it? No, it's under a heating pad. I was like, you got to be kidding me, dude.
He's got a Merce. Tito Ortiz rocks.
But then
Merce.
there is an entire looks like it's in the freezer. There's several different stuff. Yeah, some like steroids and things like that. Some intravenous things that she claims are hit. I don't know. I mean, she's Jenna Jameson. She knows a lot of people. She could have easily set these pictures
along with
up.
the Diet Coke and the A&W root beer.
Yeah. This could easily been set up. You know what I mean? It's hard to read any of those labels.
They're hella blurry, and I don't see any names on them.
No, yeah, but she's claiming that these are his, essentially.
Right.
All right, we got kicked out of the studio that we were in, so we're now doing this from a different studio.
In a closet.
In a closet or something. So mics might sound a little bit different. This is what it's going to be like if we get that studio and do the show standing up.
No, they have actual chairs.
Well, then what's the point of getting that studio if we're just going to sit down and do the show?
I like to stand and sit.
Well, standing gives you more energy. That's
true.
That's a rule of radio. So
I'm much more energized now.
Nothing more really came out of the whole Jenna Jameson thing.
Other than those hella blurry photos.
And a bunch of tweets. But yeah, you want to do more research on it, go ahead. What else is on the agenda there?
All right, moving on. We have Fox Sports 1-3. That would be the third event on Fox Sports 1.
I'm still logging on Facebook over there.
Oh, it's over now.
It is over.
Ryan Bader versus Glover Teixeira. Ryan Bader's going to get murdered in the ring. Glover Teixeira's just tearing through everybody, man.
Ryan Bader's wrestling is great, and he does have a great overhand right. Unfortunately, he just hasn't really been able to put together a lot of good game plans.
No, not quite.
So this is probably going to be another devastating loss for Ryan Bader.
This is going down on September 4th. Also on this card, we have Yushin Okami going up against Jacare.
Yay!
How do you think?
It depends. As long as Yushin Okami doesn't try to wrestle him to death.
He probably will.
Yeah.
That's what he's known for. I mean, he does have decent stand-up.
Jacare's
stand-up is improving.
Has gotten
definitely
much better. Jacare's he's used to being on the ground. The problem is wrestlers are really good at just negating the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And Jacare being one of the best guys in MMA right now with jiu-jitsu is he's going to have to work against that. He's going to have to work the bottom game, which is going to suck because you can't, as Nate Diaz has showed us, you can't win fights from the bottom. Yeah. He won the one time with the triangle, and aside from that, he's lost decisions, because he wants to try to win from the bottom again. And that's where Jacare is going to be stuck underneath Yushin Okami.
Yushin Okami is huge.
Yes. God, he's enormous. I don't even know how he's in that weight class.
Going down, UFC 162, Chris Lieben is back.
Yes, I was stoked about that.
I'm excited. Going to be fighting Andrew Craig. This is going to be a free fight on the FX prelim for UFC 162.
Oh, Lieben's knocked down to prelims?
But it's free.
Yeah,
at least it's not prelim Facebook.
That's crazy.
That's on your way out.
Yeah,
prelim Facebook's on the way out because nobody watches Facebook.
That's cool though because Lieben's always a draw and it's good.
Exactly, and he's going to be I think he's going to be the main event of the prelims on Facebook or on FX,
which is kind of cool. F out.
He says he's felt better than he has in his entire life. Moved away.
That's what a lot of people say when they get knocked out.
He moved away from Hawaii though, and he's moved down to San Diego.
Okay.
And he says he's healthier, he's stronger, he's just more clear of mind.
That's just what people say when they get knocked out.
Well, we'll see what happens there.
Ooh, I can log myself out from my phone.
There you go. Miesha Tate is going to be on the ESPN Body Issue. She's following in her rival Ronda Rousey's footsteps. She will be nude for.
I'm very happy about
the ESPN. We don't know if she's going to be wearing the same pink hand wraps or if she's going to be doing something different.
I'm very happy about that. I can't even tell you how happy I am about that. Love me some Miesha Tate.
Well, go talk to Mr. Brian Caraway about that.
No.
I think you could take Brian Caraway.
I honestly probably could.
Definitely in a popularity contest because nobody likes Brian Caraway. But in an overall game, you might be able to take him in an actual somewhat fight.
Holy crap. How am I logged on 6 different devices right now?
Dude, I don't know. Moving on. Rampage wants to fight Roy Nelson. Roy Nelson is a free agent right now. Has not been re-signed by the UFC as of yet. I'm sure he's in contract negotiations. Or, excuse me, his people are in his contract negotiations because, remember, he doesn't take care of that himself.
How am I logged on in Walnut Creek?
But Rampage Jackson himself says since he's been talking about possibly moving to heavyweight, and he's got his movie deal and he's got his wrestling deal and he's with Bellator, that he'd be down for fighting Roy Nelson. He says he would knock him out.
No.
I would pay to see that fight. If that could be Bellator's first pay-per-view.
He's fine, but he's not going to knock out Roy Nelson.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing that makes that interesting to me is that Rampage is a gamer.
Yep.
And Roy Nelson's not going to kick him.
Right.
Which has been a problem for Rampage in the past. Roy Nelson's not going to kick
Has Roy Nelson never kicked anybody?
I don't think no.
Can he lift his legs that high? I remember seeing that picture of him where he's like this, trying to touch his toes in the air.
Right.
It's hilarious.
And I don't even, but it would make an interesting fight simply because Rampage is going to want to keep it standing. Roy Nelson can knock anybody out at any given time. If he goes to the ground, though, it's a different story because Roy Nelson's ground game, I think, is probably better than
he's going to use that belly to submit Rampage all day, any day. But Rampage says he's been working on his Muay Thai, he's been working on his wrestling.
I'd pay for it if it was like a $20 pay-per-view.
Right.
Like Strikeforce did that one time.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I also like that Rampage is still talking crap about the UFC and says Spike TV made the UFC. The UFC would absolutely know where it is if it wasn't for Spike TV.
That's ignorance. That's complete ignorance right there. It has nothing to do. Does he even know the history of the Ultimate Fighter?
No.
I mean, that's
Rampage, man.
That's complete
Does he ever
ignorance.
listen or look at any of the history of anything before he talks?
So stupid.
He's saying Viacom made the UFC. The UFC would be nowhere where it is without Viacom.
No, Dana White made the UFC.
Yeah. Dana White and the Fertitta brothers straight up said they paid for the first season of The Ultimate Fighter themselves.
Yeah.
They paid for it to be on Spike.
The only reason, Spike was just the only network that was willing to give him a chance.
Yeah.
Every other network passed on it. So it was, the UFC made Spike.
Right?
Are you kidding me?
Right? They're still trying to trump out before Bellator started. They were still trying to trump out all the extra UFC footage they had available before it all went to Fox. Remember they were trying to counter program, being like, "Oh, we have the Ultimate Fighter too."
And
I know, but
Spike
it's
doing
last
now?
season.
How's Spike doing now?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's just complete ignorance. It's a dumb statement on Rampage's behalf.
When has he not made dumb statements? It's Rampage. I would love to talk to him.
I don't know if I can handle it. I don't know. I really don't know if I can.
I don't know if we'll ever get it now that he's over in Bellator.
That's true.
Ryan
Sims, make it happen.
Ryan Sims, make it happen. This is your favorite MMA podcast. Sammy Schilt has retired from the fight game. He has a ailing heart condition.
Again, had no idea he was still fighting. I love how these guys
He's been doing kickboxing.
They come out and they're like, "I'm retiring." It's like, bitch, you ain't done nothing in like 4 years. You ain't retired. You got fired.
The same thing is like I was watching the NBA finals and it was like they say all the different guys Tim Duggan. I'm like, he's still alive. They're like, he's like 38. I'm like, I just haven't heard from him in a while.
That's what I'm saying. Look,
he
man,
was popular in the 90s.
If I walked out this door today and showed up like 4 years later to be like, "Oh, by the way, I retired from radio," they were like, "Bitch, you got fired. You didn't show up for 3 days, man. Your office been cleared out.
Yeah.
We hired somebody else. If you don't fight for 4 years, the fight game fired you. You didn't retire from it. The fight game fired you.
They let you go."
Yeah. Jesus, man.
Tim Kennedy coming out and talking a bunch of crap about the UFC, even though he's going to be fighting on their UFC 162 card coming up next weekend.
Why is he talking trash?
He's talking trash, saying that he doesn't make enough money. He's saying he could make more money picking up and doing garbage, being a garbage man, than he can in the UFC. He says, now, the numbers have not been released yet. The numbers for the UFC 162 have not been released. They're not released till after. But he says, I'm only being guaranteed $55,000 show money. Mm-hmm. Okay? And that after taxes, I'm only going to get $20,000.
That doesn't make any sense.
Okay? And then he says, I have to pay 59% of that to trainers, my gym, my supplements, my this, my manager, that he's not going to make enough money.
Quit. Quit then. I don't understand.
He says he can make more money throwing away trash. So be a garbage man.
Yeah, then go do that.
Hey, George St. Pierre was a garbage man once.
Was he?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
He was a garbage man once.
Yeah, then either get a belt or go pick up garbage.
He's got a belt. He had the strike drills.
Oh, yeah, that is a lot. That carries a lot of weight.
It's not 10 pounds of gold.
He can wear that while he's emptying trash cans in.
Hey, Tim Sylvia wore his everywhere.
I know he did. I would too. If I'm Tim Sylvia and I'm whatever he was, 6'5".
Yeah.
Because Tim Sylvia was nothing if he wasn't tall.
The maniac.
It was like Shaq. When Shaq's the basketball player, man. If Shaq wasn't 7'11", then he wouldn't have been that good. He wouldn't have been the best center in the league. You know what I'm saying? If Shaq was like your average 6'2" basketball player or however, 6'5" or whatever,
yeah,
then he wouldn't be Shaq. He wouldn't have had all those blocks and all that stuff. There's just no way. Shaq was tall.
And huge,
And-
like
and-
300 pounds.
Yeah,
but could move.
He could move. He was still he was still a better basketball player than me.
Yeah.
But if he was nothing, he's not tall. Same with Tim Sylvia. If you put the average height on the average height of a fighter on Tim Sylvia, dude got his ass kicked all the time.
Yeah.
Because he sucked. He was a terrible fighter. He was just really, really tall. So if I'm Tim Sylvia and I actually get a belt,
He was knocking people out.
no shit. If I'm Tim Sylvia and if I actually got a belt, dude, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm sleeping with it on.
He did. He slept with it
Yeah.
on. He had inappropriate relations with somebody with it on.
Hell yes.
He went to Walmart with it on.
Because you know it's the only one you're ever gonna get.
He sold one on eBay.
Yeah, because that's exactly it. Because this is a fluke. It's because there's
You're
nobody.
just a weirdo.
There's nobody else in your division that can beat you at that time. That's why you got a belt. So okay, cool. You're tall. If you were only 6'2", you would have never had a belt. Never.
And the last little bit I got of news is Anderson Silva has come out with his top 4 greatest fighters of all time.
Anderson Silva's list.
Anderson Silva's
Is
list.
he on his own list?
He's not on his own list.
Oh, okay.
Top 4 fighters. BJ Penn, number 1.
Okay.
Okay. Randy Couture, number 2.
Okay.
Chuck Liddell, number 3.
Okay.
And Hoist Gracie, number 4.
That's a terrible list.
You don't agree with any of that list?
Hi. I don't like
confused.
I don't like that list at all.
Just as much as you are as confused about this list.
Yeah. What's his number 1 again?
Number 1's BJ Penn.
BJ Penn, I can understand being on somebody's list simply because BJ Penn, for a long time, he was never afraid to fight anybody at any weight.
Anywhere, anyway. And he walked into moving up in weight. He got the lightweight belt. He got the welterweight belt. Like, first guy to get 2 belts in 2 weight classes.
Yeah, the guy, he's he's a little up and down now, but for the pinnacle of his career, the guy he would never turn down a fight
ever,
and he was always a gamer. He would go in to win. I mean, Crazy BJ was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. I like when he came back and won the lightweight title as Crazy BJ.
Yeah, when he walked into Crazy from Gnarls Barkley and came in and just destroyed Sean Shirk.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's and the fact that he could fight. He fought at 205. Who did he fight at 205?
Leonardo Machida.
That's right. He fought Machida at 205. This is the guy who's a lightweight champ.
He's 5'6".
Yes.
5'7".
And he fought Leonardo. He didn't care. He doesn't care. He's like that angry Chihuahua that thinks he's bigger than a Rottweiler. You know what I mean? So I can see BJ Penn being on the list. Hoist Gracie is a legend of the sport.
Yeah.
Greatest fighter of all time? No, because we saw what happened when he met somebody after the sport had evolved.
Matt Hughes.
Right. And Randy Couture was really good for the sport for the time that he was in it.
Another guy who won 2 belts in 2 weight classes.
Yeah, very good for the sport. I don't know. Would he be greatest fighter of all time? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Chuck Liddell, hell no.
At the time, though, he was the man.
But
he was the man. He ruled his division.
He ruled his division, but for a greatest fighter of all time, he's a one-trick pony.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
But I think it's just at the time, nobody else. There was nobody else that was.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? I think that's the thing is you have to like
just hating on GSP, huh?
I guess
just no love for GSP. Wow.
He might have to fight him eventually, so he doesn't want to do that.
Exactly.
He's never going to fight BJ Penn. Although BJ Penn would take that fight in a heartbeat.
He'd take it right now.
I mean, Nick Diaz is trying to take that fight right now.
Really?
Nick, he's still retired. We'll put that in quotes. He's still retired, but he said he would come out and fight Anderson Silva, and he should actually have that title shot at some point.
He earned it.
Yeah.
Makes total sense to me. All right.
Chris Weidman gets injured. He's on the line. He said he's ready to go.
I don't know. If I had to do my top 4 of all time, huh?
All time. I mean, that's pretty heavy, man.
That's rough, dude, because you got to take into account pride.
Yeah.
You know, and
I mean, you got to put, in my opinion, Fedor has to be on that list.
Does Fedor have to be on that list, considering he didn't clear out his division? There was fights over there that should have happened.
There was fights that should have happened that shouldn't happen. I mean, obviously the Josh Barnett fight was the biggest one.
That's the biggest one that should have
happened.
But
I mean, he fought Heath Herring. He fought Alistair Overeem. He fought,
he didn't fight Ubereem.
True. Mark Hunt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He fought all these guys. That actually he never did fight Fedor, or he never did fight Alistair. That fight was supposed to happen in Strikeforce, and that was a big thing.
That's right.
But he did.
Alistair was 205 then.
Yeah, but he did. But I mean, Sammy Schultz and Nogueira and all these guys.
That are all now
Kevin
retired.
Randleman.
They're all retired.
Yeah, they're all retired. Mark Coleman. I mean, guys that were.
Did he fight Gary Goodridge?
Gary Goodridge,
Yeah.
I believe he did. Yeah, I mean, I know he kept moving up. He was fighting guys. Now he did also fight a lot of cans.
Yeah. Oh, he crushed cans.
On
a daily basis,
and that's what inflated his record. But at the time that he was champion, he was defeating a lot of top guys. Crow Cop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was defeating some top guys at the time. After a while, there are a lot of things that pad his record. But
if I had to do like my favorite fighters, then
that's easy. I can do favorite fighters all day long.
Yeah, but I guess
Guys who've changed the sport, in my opinion, or guys who are like at the pinnacle, BJ Penn has to be up there
well,
again.
it's just like legends. Are we talking about best fighters of all time who have the best game? Are we talking about legends? Or are we just talking favorite fighters?
Right.
I mean, that's like
it's a big gray area. There's a little bit of gray going on.
So I don't think I could do greatest four fighters of all time.
I don't think so either.
But I could definitely do like legendary.
Yeah.
That list makes a lot of sense for legendary.
Yeah.
Because Hoist Gracie obviously changed the sport.
Oh,
because
he created the sport.
Yeah, because everybody thought that it was like, well, you stand up and you fight.
Yeah.
It's karate. Not realizing that every street fight goes to the ground anyway.
Yeah.
How many street fights do you see that stay standing for more than 30 seconds?
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't get knocked out in the first 30 seconds, it's going to the ground.
Yeah, and then they just wrestle around.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, it definitely changes sport. But hey, whatever. We're spending way too much time on this. Let's move on.
So that's what I got for all the news that was going on.
Oh, is that all?
So we also have World Series of Fighting happened, and we also have War MMA fighting. Let's get to War. It's a little easier to talk about because it's short.
This is going to have to be we'll make this a two-part podcast
Two-parter.
unless you think we can finish this up in 10 minutes.
War MMA was happened in Stockton.
So you think we can finish this
They
in 10
had
minutes?
the weigh-ins at Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right, fine. We're finishing this in 10 minutes.
They had the weigh-ins at Buffalo Wild Wings. Nick Diaz didn't show up to the weigh-ins.
Wow, shock.
He was there at the fights. This isn't a ring. He wants Pride rules. There are no elbows on the ground in his War MMA.
Is that just because of the cuts, right?
That's because of the cuts.
They don't want people stopping fights due to cuts.
But they're also they're looking into getting the yellow cards from Pride for timidity. Being timid, not being able to engage
that
the fight.
That is the one rule I think needs to get
it needs to,
in
hands
MMA.
down.
Yeah.
So
you can't, I don't want to see another Caleb Starnes fight. You know what I mean? And there has been some since then, not to that extent, but I don't like that. I want a yellow card in the UFC.
So I mean, we'll just go on the main event there. Justin Baseman defeated Daniel Roberts via a split decision as the main event. So and what's funny is he only wants hitters, bro. Only hitters. He's not going to have any of these guys that are just going to be pussyfooting around and laying around all the time and
wrestle effing each other.
And we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 decisions out of how many fights is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. So cool. More than half went to decision.
Yeah. I was at there was a kids tournament.
One was by a baseball choke, which I never heard of before, and I had to look that up.
That's new to me too. What is that?
It's some weird behind the neck where it looks like you're holding a baseball. Like the choke is like this.
Elmer, wait, what?
I don't know. I'd have to
because they're not wearing gis, right?
No. That's
strange. Okay.
Yeah, but he won by baseball choke.
I was at a tournament in San Jose.
There was even a toe hold submission.
That's terrible. This is WWF. So no, I was at a San Jose tournament for kids, and there was a mom out there that was very adamant about me having to attend this event. And
I don't understand why we didn't get tickets to this event. You have a good relationship with the Diaz brothers, don't you?
I don't know what happened. Something happened. Something happened. I don't even remember, dude.
Don't remember. World Series of Fighting 3 happened over June 14th. We had our big main event was Josh Berkman, John Fitch. Originally, I was told this was going to be for the World Series of Fighting welterweight title.
Wait a second. Okay, we haven't got to UFC 161 yet. Never mind. I have a... Did we talk about this? We'll talk about it in a minute. Did we talk about the 3-round thing?
For title fights?
Yeah. No, for main events.
For main events. We'll get to that, but it is when they decide they want one. Originally, it was every single main event.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It just popped in my head, and I was like, we got to make sure we cover that because I'm not happy about it. But anyway, So going to World Series of Fighting.
World Series of Fighting. Josh Berkman, John Fitch. Originally, I was told this is going to be for the World Series of Fighting welterweight championship
and
belt.
It was not.
And all the way up until I think a week of, and then they decide, nope, we're not ready to give out belts yet. I don't know if they don't have enough money for the belt, if the belt wasn't ready yet.
They can't commission it. They just go down to Mervin's and buy a couple leather belts and be like, here.
It's a belt buckle.
Get your big ass belt buckle.
But big news, Josh Berkman choked out John Fitch
got his revenge,
41 seconds of round 1.
Got his revenge.
Round 1.
Yeah. Way to go, Fitch.
Yeah.
Way to go, Fitcherino.
Fitch definitely underestimated Josh Berkman. Josh Berkman hit him with a couple good hands, dropped him, immediately went into the choke.
Honestly, I laughed at Fitch on Twitter for this.
And then everybody was saying, of course, Dana White has to badmouth Steve Mazzagatti that Fitch was unconscious for way too long, and Mazzagatti didn't step into the fight and stop it. Because what happened was he had choke him like this, and he had choke him out. Well, as he choked him out, you could see him go limp. And then Berkman rolls him over onto his back and lets him up and gets up, puts his hands in the air. And then Mazzagatti's like, the fight's over. Starts waving his hands over Fitch like, you're knocked out. I know you can't see me, but I'm stopping the fight.
Oh, man.
Okay.
There was a lot of criticism.
A lot of criticism about the Mazzagatti. Now, Big John has said, no. It was a split second. He was only out. Big John, I watched the replay. He was unconscious in the other position. It wasn't when he turned him over. It was you see him go and instantly limp. You're like, I'm watching the thing live. He's out. Oh, he's turning him over. Oh, he's still out.
So Berkman locked the choke in just perfectly and put Fitch out immediately?
Pretty much.
Wow.
He dropped him down and basically laid him out flat, put him out, and then spun him over and turned him over and stood up.
Freaking Fitch, man. This guy fought GSP, number one contender in the UFC. Only had 3 losses his entire career in the UFC. Just a wet blanket.
Yeah.
But very good at what he does. And then he comes over to World Series of Fighting and gets choked out by Berkman in the first round.
The prelim cards were all online, all went to decision. Everything else was on NBC Sports, which was actually pretty good to watch. Jacob Volkman did defeat Lyle Beerbaum to decision, but we have Steve Carl defeated Tyson Steele, rear naked choke in round 1, and the lightweight fight was Justin Ganthry against Brian Cobb, who won TKO leg kicks and punches in the round 3.
Nice.
So yeah, World Series of Fighting is now going to be having their 4th event coming up. That'll be August 10th. We got a little ways before we get to that. Tyrone Sprong, though, will be making his MMA debut for World Series of Fighting.
Cool.
So I'm very excited about that.
Hey, the more MMA, the better, in my opinion.
Right?
You know, the UFC is always going to be the NFL or the MLB or, you know, the NHL when it comes to the sport.
The one thing I don't understand is that President Ray Sefo himself will be fighting on this card.
That's dumb.
No, you're not excited about that?
No.
Ray Sefo himself will be fighting on this card. Also on this, some names you might recognize. Tyson Griffin going up against Gasavis Cavalcante and Gerald Harris going up against Jorge Santiago.
What happened to James Irvin? Is he retired?
I think he's dead. No, I'm just joking.
It's Steve Irwin.
Steve Irwin?
Steve Irwin's dead.
Yeah. Crikey.
Yeah. Crikey. Is the Sandman still fighting?
Isn't that James Irwin?
Yeah.
I was like, are you trying to trick me?
I don't even. I'm serious. I guess he's retired.
Yeah. The fight game left him.
Yeah.
They let him go.
You didn't show up for 4 years. You're fired.
Let's see. James Irvin, mixed martial arts career.
I just want to know when he's going to get picked up by somebody. Foley's mad at me.
I know. His last fight was April 29th, 2012.
Really?
Yep, he fought it. Wow. His last 3 fights have been in Gladiator Challenge.
That's right. That's right. I was booking fights for that guy for a while, and I was excited because he got Sandman to start fighting for him.
Yeah.
Was his last fight when he got knocked out by Anderson Silva in the UFC? Was that his last UFC fight?
His last fight, no. He got knocked out by Anderson Silva, and then he got knocked out by Alessio Sakara, and then he got choked out by Igor Pajajic, and then he was let go.
Wonder why.
And then he won his first fight back in Rebel Fight League with a knockout. Then he lost at Tai Chi Palace Fights, I think. Yeah, submission. And then he had a no contest at the first Gladiator Challenge. Then he went over to KSW, the Polish one, and lost. And then he's had 3 fights in Gladiator Challenge since then. He won 1 knockout, he won 1 submission, and he just lost his last fight TKO punches.
Wow. Yeah. The mighty hath fallen. Yeah, that Tai Chi Palace is the way to go. If you're an amateur fighter in Northern California, you want to get on there.
Yeah.
That's where you get paid.
Tai Chi is, and yeah, I mean, that's where a lot of these guys, I know, what's his name? Uncle Creepy came from there.
Mm-hmm. Right. Uriah Faber fought there a few times.
Yep.
Uriah Faber was, of course, Gladiator Challenge champion for a long time. When I was trying to fight manage and get people fights and stuff like that, man, it is hard to make money in this game at that level. I'll tell you right now. But if you're in Northern California, you can fight at Tai Chi. They'll pay your ass.
Yeah.
So you want to move on to the UFC 161?
UFC 161, the probably most boring UFC fight card in a really long time. They set another record. Whereas the previous event, they had 10 fights out of 12 with a finish. We had 10 out of 12 went to decision.
My God.
We had 1 guillotine choke, which I'm assuming, did he get choke of the night? Yeah, we got submission of the night because he was the only one.
Only submission.
And,
over Sam Stout, too.
And, so James Krause. And then knockout of the night went to Sean Jordan over Pat Barry. Because it was the only knockout of the night.
It was only a TKO.
And it was only a TKO. And really, watching the footage again, he got poked in the eye.
Really?
With a pretty good knuckle to the eye, like finger knuckle to the eye. He goes to cover up, and that's when it's a TKO. So,
wow.
But Pat Barry's like, look, it happened. I'm not blaming him. It is what it is.
It must be nice to get $25,000 for an eye poke.
Right. And then your fight of the night was also Sam Stout versus James Krause.
Oh, no kidding?
Every other fight went to decision. We had Yves Javine, decision win over Dustin Pegg. Mitch Clark, decision win over John McGuire. Roland Delorme, decision win over Evan Figueroa. Sean Pearson, decision win over Kenny Robertson. Jake Shields' decision win over Tyron Woodley, which was a bunch of BS in my opinion.
Split decision too. I guess I didn't see. I thought I saw this.
Jake Shields held him against the fence the entire time. It's 15 minutes of, hey, let's check out the fence line.
Are you serious?
And he just every once in a while throw a little knee up. 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 I'm offensing. I'm putting a knee up.
I want to know how much they have invested in Jake Shields to be handing him all these
Alexis
decisions.
Davis, decision win over Roxy Sexton. Ryan Jimmo, decision over
really wanted
Igor
her to lose
Pajayev.
that fight, damn it.
Stipe Miocic put it to Roy Nelson, and justly so won his decision.
Just couldn't put Roy Nelson down, though, huh?
You can't put Roy Nelson down, but he just beat the crap out of him for the entire 3 rounds.
Just the good old boy.
And then we have our good old 3-round main event, light heavyweight bout. Rashad Evans, the split decision over Dan Henderson.
Did I talk to you about this 3-round thing?
No.
Okay, then whoever I talked to, this is what they told me. They said that they kept it at a 3-round main event because Roy Nelson Dan Henderson and Rashad Evans were only training for a 3-round fight. So they're like, oh, okay, we'll go ahead and keep a 3-round fight. My argument with that is you should always be training for a 5-round fight.
You should be training for 6 rounds.
You should be training for 10.
Right? You're supposed to have cardio.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be able to go.
How in the hell? That's absolutely asinine. That is not a good enough explanation.
No, not at all.
Hey, so what have you heard about this 3-round thing?
Originally, it was, we need to start making main events 5 rounds because of things that happened, just like Dan Henderson against Shogun Rua. That was a 3-round fight. I was there live. Everyone was like, "Holy crap! We just witnessed this amazing."
And now it's over, and we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, really, Dan Henderson won rounds 1 and 2, 2 being questionable. Shogun came back and destroyed him and won round 3. Could it gone in round 4? Who knows what would have happened? Who knows? We don't know what would have happened. I mean, and so they decided, okay, we're going to start, after a few fights like that, we're going to start making all main events 5 rounds.
Right.
Not just championship fights. And then it was, I know we just announced that, but this next event is still going to be 3 rounds. And then after that, all right, here's your 5 round. And then after that, well, we're going to make this one. It's like they just pick and choose.
Wait, well, this one's on FX, so we're only going to do 3 rounds.
And then it was, it's only pay-per-view. Our main event's going to be 5 rounds.
And then this one
happened at 3.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I was actually severely disappointed when I saw that, especially with the explanation I got of like, well, they're only training for. Shut up! You should always be training for 10 rounds.
Yeah.
You mean these guys are professional athletes? They're doing how many? They're doing like 3 a days.
They should be
up to this thing, So I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that at all. It's all lies. I guess that's it for today.
Yeah.
So we have a Cain Velasquez interview we're also going to upload. We're not going to put it on this podcast, but
we did that, last week when you were here?
Huh?
Or was that this week when we were here?
This week when I was here. Huh?
Yeah.
Next week we might be doing the show early on a Wednesday because of the 4th of July weekend. So
you tune in, fight fans.
Yeah, exactly, because we have to do it for...
This is for the people. We're giving it to you a day early so you can listen to on the 4th of July.
There you go.
What? And blow stuff up. America.
So, yeah, there you go. Thanks, Fight Fans Radio. Download us at rock967.com or through Fight Fans Radio on Spreaker, Blog Talk Radio, and iTunes. Are they adding something else soon? I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Piss off.